I've started the recording. Any agenda items, specific topics that you want to make sure that we cover today?
What is on the agenda for today? I don't remember seeing a document.
Yeah, I didn't get the agenda sent out, so that was my fault. I wanted to take a look at the duplicate patron policy that had been begun. I looked around for a draft of a lost in transit policy and couldn't find one, although there was mention of one in council minutes. So I want to look at what's currently on the web as far as the transit policy. And you had mentioned, Perry, talking about an Evergreen app. So that's on the agenda. And then we wanted to talk about the quick views and the quick reads record that's on the system from the Dells. Talk about that briefly. Anything else anyone can think of? Okay, I will go ahead and share my screen and bring up, let's see, duplicate account policy. So this was a draft that was begun by Brent. And Maura went ahead and sent me her notes in red that, questions she had or things to possibly refine the duplicate account policy. So I thought we could start reviewing this and see what the rest of you think. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, it looks fine.
Okay. So on the duplicate account policy, it starts out for checking for pre-existing accounts during the registration phase. So that makes sense. Check on multiple fields like first and last name. Make sure that you scope out to Sage, and the reminder that students are allowed duplicate cards. And so if a duplicate patron is found, Brent just had in brackets merge them or put in help desk ticket. Maura had some notes about checking for fines and items still out on the duplicate card. And check linked patrons for other fines that are the responsibility of the patron. Let the patron know that these will be on a new card and all loan rules and fines will still apply. So I guess I want to stop at this point and ask whether how libraries feel about somebody merging a duplicate card when it's another library's patron. Any feedback?
It's fine with me for them to adopt it.
So what are the reasons for typically when this happens, it means the patron has moved, right?
Right.
So you're registering a patron who is no longer in the area. So Heidi's saying that we need to know if our card's being merged, we need to pull the application cards and discard them. And this is the conversation I remembered was there has to be some kind of notification of that original library.
Then that is in this document. It says notify former home library.
Yeah, it does. And cards have been merged. Not sure how many libraries actually want this step. We could do without it here. It really is necessary because there are some that still have the paper applications. Okay. So generally, it's okay if a patron has moved. If there's fines, those fines just get moved over to the new record?
Right.
Okay. All right.
And generally, just to avoid confusion or just to defend against disputes, when I add a note to a merged record that was moved over, not only has the timestamp and date, but I'll put merged with a balance of such and such.
Okay. So that they know what it was at the time of the merge. That's good.
Right.
Okay. So I can add that to this draft. Because Brent had the time of the merge and login used. There should not be a loss of date of birth, emails, etc., and the resulting merged record. The lead record should reflect the most current address in home library. And I guess I could bring it up at this point. Another thing that there is a library setting or option that on a patron merge, it gets rid of old barcodes. I mean, obsolete barcodes. And Maura suggested that we discuss this today as to what we want to do with those barcodes. Her recommendation was that we should get rid of them since they have a new barcode.
So they would not show up even as inactive cards in the barcode list.
That's correct. At least that's my understanding of the setting.
Sometimes patrons will get a new card and then find the old one and then lose their new one. And we were just, with them displayed there, we can revert back to their former card without having to charge them or set up a whole new card. So I think it's rare that we have a list of old barcodes that gets super long, so I don't think it's a big problem to have them displayed.
Yeah, I think there was a concern that if the old card was lost or stolen, that somebody could use it.
Well, it is it a setting each library's account that those old barcodes are inactive, or are they still usable?
Yeah,
they'll bring up a record and say this is retrieved with an inactive card.
That's right. And so that should give them a clue. That should give them a clue that, oh, okay, there's something a little bit different about this, and maybe we should inquire farther.
Yeah.
Okay.
If an old barcode is used, then we, as John says, need to get additional information to verify the patron has authority to use that account.
So we need to ask for ID if they're using an inactive card.
Right.
Okay, so at this point, we really want to retain that old barcode for the benefit of the patron for being able to bring up their record.
Yeah, I think that's been useful on an irregular occasion, but probably more useful than it is to not have access to.
Okay, Heidi's saying, I think getting rid of card numbers from old numbers from other libraries is better.
Why do you think that, Heidi? I'm curious.
They're problematic. We would be deleting these cards from this system anyway. So Heidi, do you delete those inactive barcodes? Yes.
How do you delete the barcodes?
Is there a delete option when you go into the patron record? It's been a while since I looked at that screen.
I don't recall that there is. There is just the inactive, active.
Oh, Brent was doing this for us when we did a patron purge. Well, and I can see it when we delete patrons, yeah. But I guess
having the
go ahead.
Old barcodes does help show that they've migrated from library to library. It's just another clue that their billings may have come from somewhere else.
So the deleting of the inactive cards was as a part of a patron purge. So I guess for normal operations, we could retain the old barcode at this point.
Yeah, I'm still curious as to how they're problematic.
Heidi, can you share what problems you were having? So it's confusing. Pulling up a card listed as inactive or inactive card is confusing to staff. I guess my thought is that this happens, I don't know, doesn't it happen somewhat rare?
Inactive account versus inactive card.
This is because, Heidi, rather than deleting patrons, you had them marked inactive, correct?
I don't know if we're talking about the same thing.
Okay, so they're marked inactive for a period of time before a purge.
Yeah, inactive accounts is a different subject and those are deleted after a period of time. But we're talking about old library card numbers on the account.
The message for staff is so similar it creates a problem.
Can we adjust the message, or is that hard-coded and not accessible? This is retrieved with an inactive card. Please obtain ID or something for continued use or to proceed.
Yeah, I'd have to research that, Perry, to know. I believe it's customizable. Most messages in the system are. So we could change the message. I don't know what we would change it to. I mean, to me, it seems pretty clear. But I'd have to look at the other message to see where the ambiguity would be. So I'll make a note to myself to look at inactive messages. Is this something that we want to decide at the CERT committee level in regards to elimination of these barcodes? I guess I'm concerned that if we open it up to like a survey, that there won't be enough understanding of the issue. But I also don't want to make a decision in a vacuum where enough people haven't been able to give input. Is that the only thing that we are not sure concerning this duplicate patron policy or procedure? Everything else seems to be pretty straightforward. And is this something that we make a decision it needs to apply to all of Sage for consistency purposes?
I think it's helpful to have guidance. And it might be helpful to have an index of libraries and have listings of who wants to be contacted and who doesn't need to be contacted as a reference sheet.
Oh, I see. So this language down here where we're up here, notifying the patron or notifying the former home library. I guess I'm concerned about having to refer to a list and that bogging down the process. I mean, if they get an email and it doesn't bother them, they can just toss it, right?
Well, it probably happens so rarely, it's not a big deal, but
yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking too. I mean, it probably happens more in the Umatilla area than it does anywhere else.
But libraries that don't keep paper records may not want to get contacted, even in the occasional time frame.
Okay, so maybe that's a list we can, by surveying the libraries, we can find that list or generate that list and put it within this document, so that it's in the same place. So I can survey the libraries and see which ones want to be contacted if a patron has moved and they've merged a record.
It might be easier to have a spreadsheet document just with a field, please contact, no need to contact.
Okay. All right. So I'll work on getting that put together. So how do we want to leave the inactive barcode situation retained for now, so that we can get this policy draft completed? Or do we poll the membership? It seems like there's more opinions in favor of keeping it, at least today, but I don't know.
Did we get an answer to the question, is there a way to remove a barcode from a record without deleting the whole record? That seems like troublesome to try to do.
The barcodes are stored in a separate table. And so there's a reference in the patron record to the current one, but the inactive ones are a little bit farther removed. So it's possible to do. But at this point, there seems to be some advantages to retaining as an additional link for the patron. I mean, once the patron records are merged, the old inactive cards are no longer necessary, and they could be removed if we wanted them to be.
So if they're removed and the old card is scanned, it'll just retrieve no record. It'll just...
That's correct, yes.
Get no results.
Yeah, if we delete them.
And then that card could be used again, reassigned to some other account?
Yeah, theoretically.
Well, in that case, you could just replace the barcode with the card in hand. So, I could go either way.
Well, before we make a final decision, I want to look at the circulation archive, this history, and make sure that there aren't any links that would be impacted.
Is this something you can play with on the test server, see how it works?
Yeah, or I could just follow the table links and so on and see when a patron record is deleted, the circ history is still retained. So I don't believe that this is an issue. I just was double checking before we make any executive decisions, I guess.
Mm-hmm. If we can reuse that old card, whereas previously we couldn't because it was still, it would say this card number is already exists or something. If it's deleted and then we could just reuse it, add it like it's a brand new card, then that takes care of my issue, reactivating old cards.
So John has a link to a reference that says the old card number can be reinstated. So that's good. I guess I just was wondering how you go about doing that with your patron card vendor. Because unless you're creating your own cards, don't they just kind of keep on going in the numerical scheme? This is just a logistical question. I was just curious. Doesn't really matter.
So the link John is sending shows the little box of previous cards, and you can mark one's active and inactive and primary.
Now that's on a version that we don't have yet. This is 2.12. So I guess I could bring that up.
We do have that feature. I've seen it in records. I don't think it's a new feature.
No, I mean the replace barcode is certainly, yeah. I mean all that stuff is still there. Yeah, you're right. I thought this was a different thing. Yes, we do currently have that ability. Okay, so I guess to move on, I can take our discussion and make some changes to this document and send it out. I guess I'll send it out to the listserv and ask for review, or should I just send it out to the folks that attended today?
I think it needs to be sent out for review. So there's some questions and notes in this document that aren't part of the policy. We're going to clean that up?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to clean that up and put it more in the context of an actual procedure or policy. And I guess get some feedback from folks. So the other one, I was thinking about the transit policy, starting discussion on that. What we have right now is a lost book policy, which in a sense handles things that are in transit. Okay. And this was all the way back in 2003. So if the item is lost in transit before reaching its destination libraries, it says both libraries involved should attempt to locate the item. If the item is not found, an email sent to courier participants. If the item still cannot be located, the owning institution is responsible for the item's cost. Okay, so if the item is lost in transit on its way back from the borrowing institution, same procedure, they should try to locate it. If the item still cannot be located, the borrowing institution is responsible for the item's cost. So this policy was drafted so that there was a clear delineation of as far as who was ultimately going to have to come up with the replacement cost. I believe this is still what we want. Anybody disagree?
No, seems reasonable.
I think what we wanted to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, was we wanted to put some time frames in so that things weren't forever in transit and not being dealt with. My recollection was, oh gosh, I'm trying to think if there was a 6-month time frame, but that might be too long. Maybe we wanted it to be dealt with within the 6 months. What's your memory of?
I don't recall.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to toss something out there. I'm thinking that if something has been in transit for 30 days, that the library should start trying to track it down. Agree or disagree?
Certainly it's a red flag at 30 days.
So the library begins this process. And they attempt to locate the item. So they should check their own shelf. If it's not there, they should send a message out to the listserv. Message out to the listserv asking people to check their own shelves. How long should they wait for responses from libraries?
It's going to depend, and it's complicated by school closures.
Yeah. So do we think 60 days is reasonable? Or 30 days?
I think 30 days. Somebody should be able to reply, except for schools.
Okay, I guess part of this is it's a little bit confusing because we've got two different situations going on. We've got items being lost in transit before reaching the destination library. So by destination library, we're talking about maybe a hold or an ILL. I guess what I'm getting at is who's responsible. Is the owning library going to need to check for things that have been in transit too long both directions?
I don't know how many libraries regularly check their transit lists anyway.
Yeah, it's something that we generate a report automatically every month for folks. But with people's busy schedules, it's one of those tasks that gets set aside. I guess I feel like the owning library is probably more invested because it's their item that's not getting there or potentially not getting back. So along with checking, so there's going to be kind of some different procedures. If something's been in transit to the destination library to fill a hold, the owning library could check with the destination library to see whether it got put on the shelf rather than being given to the patron or some bizarre thing. Okay, so if neither library can find it, then you send out a message to the listserv in case it got shipped to the wrong location and got shelved. That was the point at which we thought 30 days was reasonable. During this process, should there be any kind of note attached to the item? Or are these going to be handwritten notes on some kind of paperwork?
It seems like we need a subcommittee to come up with a draft policy for us to really consider and then fine tune.
Okay. I can work on a draft. And then run it by the group that's here today and see if we can come up with at least something close that we can send out to other folks.
Yeah, I think that would be more efficient.
Okay. All right, I will do that. The next thing was discussion of an evergreen app, and looking at whether we want to consider Boopsy. I didn't go ahead and get a quote. I can, but my take on this was I thought that maybe we should wait on considering the idea of an app until after we upgrade to 3.0, because that's supposed to have a lot of changes that make using Evergreen on your phone a lot easier. There's just been some improvements with the mobile, or the way that it just displays Evergreen in general. And so my recommendation would be to hold off until we see how it is in that new version.
Have we gotten a system-wide quote at all for Boopsy or any other app?
We have not. I know that the DAOs had Boopsy for a while and then dropped it. So I thought it would be worth getting their feedback on what they thought of Boopsy and why they dropped it.
Yeah, it would be good to have some input for sure.
So I can send an email to Maggie at the DAOs. I thought she was going to be able to join us today, but something must have come up, and get some feedback from them. And I can also get a quote, just so we have it for future reference as well.
Is Boopsy the only one that we know of?
That's the only one I'm familiar with right now, but there could be other ones out there. Joyce is saying Boopsy is now owned by Demco. John, would you be able to do some research on other possible Evergreen apps for interacting with Sage? Okay, John says he'll look into it. Okay, and the last thing I had on the agenda, unless you guys have thought of something in the interim, was looking at that quick views record. Did you still want to look at that, Perry, and discuss it, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to have more people available to give opinions about it, but we can get a start.
Okay. Okay, share my screen again.
Just back to the app topic real quick. It looks like
yeah.
King County is using a BiblioCommons app.
Yeah, and BiblioCommons we know is a pretty expensive. I don't know whether their app is separate from the BiblioCommons interface. My guess is they would be tied together. Okay, but I made a note that King County is using the BibliaCommons app, so I can check into it. All right, so quick views. I don't remember whether that's all one word. Okay, let's try it separate. Okay. So to save time in cataloging, for things that they have in their quick views collection or their video rec, they have put all of these titles onto one bib. And as you can see, there are 1,007 copies attached to this particular bib. So concerning both from a cataloging perspective and a circulation perspective. My concern was that this makes it difficult for these particular items to be resource shared because they are all on one bib and the title is in the call number. So they're not findable by patrons. When I addressed this concern with the Dalles, they reassured me that each of the titles is also available via via another bib. So they have one copy that is being resource shared and the other copy is attached to this bib. So it's a copy 2. So we just wanted to bring it up to the group and see if it is in fact a copy 2, is that a concern, or should we address it? I'm hearing silence, folks.
And I have seen this kind of strategy done in other libraries for rapidly lost or degraded materials like mass market paperbacks, board books, things like that. I've not seen it done with videos, but basically this is a collection that's available only to the Dalles patrons and not to Sage. And it's not holdable by their own patrons or anybody else either.
That's correct, yeah. It's a browse collection in their library. They also have the same thing for a quick reads. There's fewer on here, 307 copies. And like this 113 minutes, if we do a search for that. Huh. Well, I'm only finding a book on CD for Hood River, and it's owned by a few folks, but the Dalles does not have one attached to this particular bib. So this would be a case where it's only available in the quick reads.
So maybe their copy to statement was only applying to the quick views and not the quick reads.
Yeah, either that or it's new, you know. Well, 2016. I don't think that's new. So yeah, I think there's some.
So it's just a new kind of creature.
It is
circulating, and I think it would be good to have a statement endorsing it, authorizing such practice, because it is not a reference collection. I guess it could be called a special collection.
Yeah, and libraries do have the ability to have special collections, and for those special collections not to be holdable by other folks. I guess I just didn't want it to be a precedent.
We don't want it to be a way of skirting cataloging responsibility. I think that's the other concern.
Yeah. So the folks here, do we feel like this is more of a cataloging issue or more of a circ issue? And is it an issue at all?
I don't think our patrons are going to be, running across it and then getting frustrated that they can't borrow it.
That's
because
true.
they're not going to find it in the catalog record.
So they're not going to find it. So Heidi's suggestion thinks it's a cataloging issue at this point. Okay. So I'll bring it up at the cataloging committee meeting, and we'll take it from there. From a resource sharing perspective, like you said, Perry, the patrons aren't going to know. Philosophically, I feel like, the patrons should have access to the collection. But I can work with the DAOs on that, see if we can make that happen. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Is there something that you feel like we should tackle as a CERC committee?
I think things are running smooth.
Well, that's good to know. I guess we'll do these policy drafts, and then once those are done, then we'll revisit new topics. At some point, we might want to go back, because I know there was a discussion of increasing the number of renewals. We could go back to that discussion at some point, but we don't need to visit it quite yet since we have other stuff to work on. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for participating today. Hope your day goes well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.